So this surveillance footage, it was captured the moment that an off-duty cop in a 4,500-pound Ram truck slammed into the back of this compact car. This is in in Suffolk, Long Island. So this cop, whose name is David Mascarella, hit the car at more than 50 miles an hour. There he is in his truck slowing down later. Investigators are now asking if fellow police officers helped cover up the fact that he may have been under the influence during that accident. Crazy, because as people stop to help the victims, you can see the truck take a leisurely trip down the road. He just moves by after destroying that little car. Looks like a Prius or something versus this big Ram truck. So that car had 2 young children in it. And of course, they're in the back seat, so they took the brunt of the impact. Let's get to more details of what happened from that. This is devastating. Mascarella crashed his truck at over 50 miles an hour into a car holding Kevin Cavooris and his 2 young sons on Middle County Road in St. James on August. This is in 2020. It's just this surveillance footage just came out. Cavooris had slowed down to make a left turn when he was rear-ended by Mascarella, who was driving erratically for about 1.5 miles before the collision. That's according to a witness cited in this police report. Pictures show that the impact of the crash on his in that back seat of the car for his 2-year-old son, for his skull to be fractured from that accident. Here's pictures of that poor kid who was injured in that accident. The dad was thrown into the steering wheel, broke his nose, while his 2-year-old son's skull was cracked in multiple places. The injured child had to relearn how to feed himself and perform other activities he had recently learned as a toddler. So after almost 2 years after that crash, he still has leg braces and he's unable to run or jump. It's a long-term injury he's got there. So here's where it gets even worse. There was an investigation by Newsday who was revealing all this, confirmed that the family had suspected that this for these past couple years that the police had been hiding some information. So first, there's a zoomed-in video of the truck that was leaving after a second, and 9 seconds after the crash, it was leaving. It took off as you saw it there, but they did notice that something was getting tossed out of the truck. You see that? Who knows? But he definitely got away from the scene of the first collision and tossed that out. Multiple cops from the same police department that he works at were involved in this cover-up. Here's some details. Because officers broke protocol and failed to administer a test, the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office was unable to pursue a vehicular assault charge against this officer. The officers involved also failed to notify the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office that Mascarella had refused to take a breathalyzer test, which prevented the DA from deciding to seek a warrant for a blood test, which could have verified if he was drunk during the accident. The whole point was to make sure no one could tell if he was drunk during that accident. A detective told Sergeant Lawrence McQuaid that he wanted to administer a breathalyzer test. So Officer Kevin Wistenhoff lied to a supervisor. They had given him a breath test and that he had passed. That's what an anonymous law enforcement source told Newsday as well. So 3 hours after the crash, Deputy Inspector Mark Fisher finally asked Mascarella to take that breath test, and the off-duty officer refused. So normally when a driver refuses something like this, police seek a warrant to have the driver's blood tested for alcohol. But Fisher instead issued a traffic ticket and just moved on. So Pascal, there's a 2-year-old kid with brain injuries and now continuing leg injuries 2 years later. You have a cop who don't know if he was drunk or not because there was a cover-up to not let us find that out, even though there was witnesses that said he was driving erratically for a good 1.5 miles beforehand. Just to recap on how great this response was to an accident.
Right. This is the thing that really frustrates me because you got a family that's absolutely traumatized by this, not only just physically, but emotionally as well. You have a cop an off-duty cop that was out joyriding, obviously popping back some beers or something. And still this cop is protected by his boys in blue. Why is this happening? This is the piece that doesn't make any sense to me because they talk about bad apples and everything, right? And you wonder how deep that barrel of apples, how bad they really are. Because you sit there and you see something like this, the right thing, they avoid everything that could be the right thing to do just to save this one guy from embarrassment or from ridicule or making it look bad for other cops out here when they should be doing the exact opposite, doing the right thing, stepping up, pushing that guy out and saying, hey, go get your, get the blood test or the breathalyzer. Do the right thing. It's frustrating that this is even a story right now. And my thoughts and prayers go out to that little kid.
It kind of makes you wonder, if not for the surveillance footage or if not for any other people seeing it, how many times this happened and we just don't hear about the things that are covered up, the breathalyzer, the test that wasn't taken. We say it all the time when it comes to police brutality, just when they're beating on a suspect on the ground. Like look, Rodney King was the one that particular assault is the one that had people going, you mean this happens? In 1992, I think it was. And now that everybody's got a cell phone or surveillance footage everywhere, I think it's a little less likely that they get away with these things, but they still try. It's the old way things used to go.
I mean, the saga continues, man. It's the song that doesn't end. It's a broken record. This thing happens consistently, and it's absolutely frustrating.